Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Jordyn and welcome to my New Year, New Reads Readathon vlog. This is a week-long readathon being run by 4 of my good friends here on BookTube, so I'm so excited to be participating and supporting the readathon. I think it's such a great idea to do a readathon to really kickstart your reading in January. I actually am already off to a great start with my reading, but admittedly a lot of my reading plans for January are very reliant on my library and audiobook services, and I'm going to use this readathon as a week to focus on my own TBR to make sure that I also kickstart that in this new year and make sure I'm staying on top of the books that I own, reading some of the books that I meant to get to last year, and again, just kick off a really fun year of reading. So today is day 1, January 9th. It is about 2 o'clock in the afternoon and I'm ready to pick my TBR. I have not picked any books yet that I'm going to read for this readathon, but I am sitting on the floor in my bedroom because this is right next to my TBR cart where I keep the books that I have not read yet. So this is where I'm going to be picking the books that I want to read this week. I think I want to aim to read about 3 books for this readathon this week, which is perfect because they do have 3 reading prompts to follow. The first reading prompt is to read a new to you author, the second one is to read a book you didn't get to in 2022, and the third is to read the newest book on your shelf. Okay, for read a new to you author, I have a few options. A couple that are jumping out to me are Small Game by Blair Braverman and 5 Survive by Holly Jackson. No, I have not read any Holly Jackson books yet. I do own the entire A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series, which I absolutely am meaning to read as soon as possible, but haven't gotten to it yet, so I have not read Holly Jackson yet. This is her newest YA mystery thriller. I am very excited to read this book because I have seen my friend Aspasia from her channel Asparagus is Reading recently read this book, and I think she gave it 4.5 stars. So I think I'm also gonna really like it, but I do kind of want to save it for after the Good Girl's Guide series. So I don't think I'm gonna pick that one. So what I'm gonna read for new to you author is Small Game by Blair Braverman. I definitely have not read from this author before. It looks like she has written 2 books previous to this, but the synopsis of this book sounds so fun. It says, a gripping debut novel about a survival reality show gone wrong that leaves a group of strangers stranded in the northern wilds. That sounds completely up my alley. Reality TV shows stranded in the wilderness. This book is also very small and looks pretty short, like 275 pages, so it's perfect for a readathon. And I think I can get this one on Scribd, so I am going to add this as my first book on my TBR for this readathon. Again, the second prompt is to read a book you didn't get to in 2022. And for this, I feel like I should pick one of my backlist books. There are a few options calling out to me, like Keep It in the Family by John Mars, Whiteout by Danielle Clayton and a bunch of other authors, a collection of short stories. But going even further back, I think I should choose one of my backlist Chris and Hannah books. Chris and Hannah is an author that I tried for the first time last year. Really loved her. I've read all of her new hyped releases and I want to get more into her backlist to hopefully find some hidden gems. And this one seems perfect for the season. It's called Winter Garden. I don't know for sure if it's set in the winter, but I will give it a try. And that will be nice to, again, knock that off of my backlist because I have been holding onto that book for a few months. And then the last prompt is to read the newest book on your shelf. So obviously that doesn't leave a ton up to interpretation, but I am going to stretch it just a little bit because the books that I've acquired most recently are Book of the Month and Aardvark books, but I saved those for their own special vlogs, so I don't want to tap into those. And I think the most recent book that I have bought other than that is this one, which I'm very excited for, Our Missing Hearts by Celeste Ng. This is this author's newest release. She has written 2 previous books. I've read them both and I really enjoyed them both. Even though she is a fairly popular, well-known author, I haven't seen a ton of reviews for this newest book by her, which I'm glad about. That definitely lets me form my own opinion. I'm guessing this is going to be a literary fiction type book with a little bit of a mystery undercurrent, because that's what her previous 2 books have been, but I really don't know anything about the synopsis, and I'm gonna keep it that way before I dive in. And yeah, I bought this as a new release towards the end of last year and never read it, so time to get that done. So with that, I am very excited about this Readathon TBR and knocking some books off of my backlist to start this year. I really don't have a ton planned for this week, but I will vlog throughout the week and take you with if anything exciting happens. Otherwise, I will just check in with reading updates when I have them. And hopefully it is just a productive jumpstart to the new year. Well, let's go ahead and dive in.
I know it's nothing new, but it's so good to see you. We do this every day, and and I'm still so amazed by you.
Okay, excuse the terrible lighting. It is much later the same day, but I wanted to give an update on the first book that I started for the readathon. I started a small game today and I'm already 38% of the way through. It's only like a 7-hour audiobook on one-time speed, so if I speed that up, it can go really quickly. So I've only been listening for a couple of hours, 38% through, and really enjoying it. A little bit more about what this is about is there is this new reality show that's starting that is a survival game where they take 5 strangers, put them all together in the wilderness, and they all have to survive together for 6 weeks. And anyone who survives those 6 weeks gets $100,000. So it's pitching itself as different from other reality shows because these people are not competing against each other, they're competing with each other, which definitely is a unique spin on that reality trope. And so far we've just been following the contestants for their first couple weeks in the wilderness. It's interesting. They are each being described and they each kind of fulfill their own archetype or stereotype of a person that you would expect on this reality show. Like there's the really pretty girl who has no survival experience but is really bubbly and happy to be there. There's the guy who has some experience and thinks he can do everything, so he's being like the macho man. There's the old grumpy guy. There's our main character who is actually very experienced at wilderness survival. She works at a place that does like survival experiences for people, whether they want to camp out for a night or whether they want to be dropped out kind of all alone and do the survival thing for a weekend. She helps put on those experiences, and I'm really liking our main character and her experience with the wilderness. It's definitely making for a different survival story than I'm used to reading because she does know a bit about how to survive, how to make a fire, how to make clean water, how to make a good shelter, like all of the basic survival skills that sometimes when you read a survival story, you're just like, what are you doing to the main character? That's not happening here because she knows what she's doing. It's been made clear that the producers of this TV show are kind of sabotaging them and getting them into situations that they wouldn't get into by themselves just to create drama, which is to be expected for this type of reality show. But I'm very curious to see where this goes because so far nothing too crazy has happened. I'm hoping and assuming that some action will pick up in the second half. But I am expecting to fly through this book. I could finish it tonight if I really wanted to push myself, but I will finish it tomorrow at the very least. So I'm just gonna go ahead and take a shower and get back to reading for the night, and I will update you once I finish this book and give you my final thoughts on it. But it's been a pretty busy and productive first day of the readathon. I am happy to be so far into my first book, but otherwise it was a normal work day. Then I had to pick up my kids from daycare and everything, and then I just worked out, which I showed a very short clip of. If you saw my January TBR video, you know I am trying to do a workout for every book that I read this year. So we are still keeping that going well. But yeah, a successful day 1. I will probably be back on day 2 to give you my next update.
So hold me tight through the night. It's just us two.
Okay, hello, it is the next day. It has already been quite an eventful day. I started my morning by doing a bit of work. I had a canceled meeting, so I decided to spontaneously kind of rearrange my home office, which is not a true home office. It's also our guest bedroom and kind of just a storage room for hobby stuff. But I like the layout that I've come up with a little bit. I've got my desk, very messy, right next to the window now. And then behind me is like the closet for this room. And then I moved our keyboard right here, so now it's actually playable, whereas before it wasn't. And then on the other side of my desk, we've got our guest bed with a bunch of crap on it. So it definitely still looks like a mess in here, but it feels better, and I'm gonna continue cleaning it the next few days and organizing it, and I think it will be a better space for me to work in going into the new year. It also allows my background when I am streaming or I'm on like reading sprints or even on work phone calls or I'm on video. I'll have a little bit more interesting of a background with that closet and curtain, and maybe someday I will do something interesting with this wall, but one thing at a time. I moved the desk for now, and then I was working around lunchtime and I got a call from my daughter's daycare that she threw up at daycare, so I had to go pick her up, and then I spent basically the lunch hour with her, making sure she was okay. She was hanging out on the couch. I did get her to fall asleep on the couch, which is a win. She definitely needed a nap. So now I am down trying to get a little bit more work done while she naps. I did want to update because I did finish my first book this morning. I finished A Small Game by Blair Braverman. This was a really interesting book. I loved the setup. I think that was clear when I was talking about this book last night. I think the idea of a reality survival show is so much fun, and I really liked learning about these characters and the situation they were in, and I was excited for things to get interesting. I was unfortunately let down by the second half of this book. Things definitely got interesting, but I would have liked even more action to happen, and I would have liked some more answers about what went on. And that's pretty vague and unsatisfying. I don't want to spoil this book though because it is relatively new, and I do think it's a fun enough premise that other people should pick up and read it if they think it sounds interesting. It's also, again, a very fast, short book, so not that much time to invest in it, again, if you think that sounds interesting. If you do end up reading this book, definitely send me a message and we can chat about it. I am going to give it 3 stars, which is about in line with other young adult survival stories that I've read. Not that this is young adult, I actually think this is supposed to be adult, but it did read a little bit young adult, just in the characters' decisions and the situation they were in. They didn't have a lot of control. But Be Not Far From Me by Mindy McGinnis and The Woods Are Always Watching by Stephanie Perkins, I think would be the 2 closest recommendations I have for this book. And I think both of those were also 3 stars for me. So I will continue to pick up books with this premise because it's interesting to me, but I'm still waiting for the one that has that perfect execution. But that's all I wanted to update on for now. I have not started my next book yet. I'm not sure which of the 2 I'm going to start next. I am going to be on reading sprints tonight, which is a secret, but this video is going out after the fact. Jessie from Reading with Jess is doing her weekly reading sprints, and she is going to be joined by Lena from Lena's Bookshelf. It's Lena's birthday tomorrow, so Jessie asked a few of us to jump on the live show as well to kind of surprise Lena and help her celebrate her birthday. So I am super excited to do that, and so at that point is probably when I will start my next book. So I will come back and update at that point once I've started it, and otherwise I'm just gonna continue getting as much work done as I can with my daughter homesick from daycare. It might not be the most productive day that I've ever had, but I should be able to get the things that I need to get done. So that's the plan, and I think I will be able to check in later tonight. Okay, hello everyone. Happy Wednesday and day 3 of the readathon. I apologize in advance because this is going to be a very low energy clip. I am sick today. I mentioned yesterday that my daughter threw up at daycare, and since I picked her up from daycare and brought her home, she was acting pretty much completely normally, so my husband and I kind of thought nothing of it. And then overnight last night, that stomach bug apparently hit me as well. So I am down for the count today. My daughter, because she threw up yesterday, she can't be back at daycare until she's like 24 hours free of being sick. So I ended up having to call my mom to see if she could pick her up and spend the day with her. My son is still at daycare like normal. My husband is still feeling fine as far as I know, but I today have just been feeling extremely nauseous and have been spending most of my time in bed. I do have my work computer here, so I've been online a bit, but it is 3:00 p.m. and I'm feeling like I've gotten absolutely nothing done, and that probably will continue to be the case all the way through tonight. I figured I could come on and give you an update on Winter Garden because I did start this last night on reading sprints. I actually read quite a bit, 80 pages in just the 2 sprints we did. This book is on Scribd, which is really helping me get through it because I can put it on 3 times speed when I'm also reading it physically and kind of fly through the pages. Also, this book looks a lot chunkier than it is. The book itself is less than 400 pages long, but I feel like it looks like more than that. So again, I'm reading through it faster than expected because it's not as many pages as I originally thought. As far as the story of this book, we're following this family that's a mama, dad, and 2 sisters. At the very beginning, we get them in childhood, but really just to establish that the daughters don't have a great relationship with the mom. I think the mom is from Russia, and her personality and the way she talks to her children is just very like short and clipped and not overly loving and just cold in her demeanor. So when these girls grow up to be adults, that relationship continues to be strained, and the two sisters have gone off and had pretty different adult lives. One decided to have a family, so she actually lives close to her parents, has her own children and her own husband, and the other one grew up to be a photographer who gets sent all over the world to capture important moments happening in history and sell them to, you know, magazines or whatever. So she's all about adventure. The other sister is all about stability, and they both get a call one day that their father is not doing well health-wise, so they both have to come home and deal with that. And I'm not really sure where it's going to go from here. I guess we will find out. I did look at some reviews of this book on Goodreads to see if it's going to be the type of story that I enjoy. I was saying on sprints last night, so far it's reminding me of both The Nightingale and Firefly Lane by Kristen Hanna. The Nightingale I really loved and gave 5 stars. Firefly Lane was not my favorite and I gave it 2 stars. So we'll see which direction it ultimately ends up going. I'm nervous it's going to be Firefly Lane because so far it does feel lower stakes. But then again, the description says it's going to take place in World War II Russia. I don't know. We'll see. I do hope that the action and the stakes pick up a little bit and I have a reason to root for these characters. And if it continues to be more character focused, then I may not enjoy it quite as much. But we'll see. I'm open. According to reviews I've seen, most people that I know that have reviewed this book, I actually know in real life, which is interesting. Not a lot of my BookTube friends have read this book, but everyone I know in real life who has read this book really enjoyed it and has given it 4 or 5 stars. A lot of them say the ending is very impactful, which is definitely a staple of Kristen Hanna's books that I've read. So I would like to stick around to see what that means, but I've also seen that there's a fairy tale element of this book where the mother will go into, you probably can't see, but this is all in italics. It sounds like the mother is going to go into this really long fairy tale story that I'm guessing parallels her own life or something like that, so we get to know the mom on a deeper level. I'm not sure how I'm going to enjoy that part. Fairy tales usually aren't my thing, but maybe fairy tale is a loose term, and again, it's just more about this mother's life before having children. So yeah, that is the situation. Again, I'm just very low energy right now, so I don't know how much reading is going to get done tonight, but that is okay because I am ahead of schedule. I've already finished one book and I am a good chunk of the way through this one for being on day 3. So maybe I will just focus on resting it the rest of today, and then tomorrow I can pick it back up and get through that book. But as always, we'll see where things take me and I will update as I have updates. Hope everyone else is having a good day 3 of the readathon and a better day than me. But if this is anything like the other sicknesses that have been cycling through my family, it should pass quickly, and really hoping I'm completely back on my feet soon and this doesn't really affect any of the other members of my family.
I hope it never ends, this being more than friends, yeah. You know I'm here to stay every single day, yeah. So hold me tight through the night. It's just us two, me and you. Oh, 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 I can't believe you love me. Oh, 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 I just feel so lucky. Oh, 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 still can't believe you love me.
Okay, hello, happy Thursday. It is day 4 of the readathon, and hopefully you can tell I am looking and feeling much better compared to yesterday. I did go to bed early last night. I went to bed at like 8 p.m. thanks to my husband for taking care of the kids and stuff and putting them to bed so that I could just shower and go to sleep. And so I got like 10 hours of sleep last night, and it's amazing what 10 hours of sleep can do for a person. Coupled with my day of general rest yesterday. So I'm very glad that today my stomach is feeling much better. I am feeling overall much better, pretty much back to normal. So I was able to get back to my normal routine today. Both kids were able to go to daycare today, which is also great to have them back in their routine. And yeah, so I worked most of today, or all of today, all of my work day, and then I was able to run and get some groceries really quickly because we were running out of some critical items. And I'm just about to run to go pick up my kids from daycare, but I wanted to check in because I have sad news about Winter Garden. I think I'm gonna DNF it. I have been listening to it for a good portion of today, and I'm actually 54% of the way through, but I am bored out of my mind. The story is extremely character driven. This family is grieving and trying to like forgive each other and mend these broken relationships during this hard time they're having, but I just feel like nothing is happening. And the mom is telling this fairy tale to her daughters that I'm just not connecting with. I don't know. I mean, I feel like it's not an actual fairy tale. I feel like she's telling a true story, but it's talking about this kingdom, and as a non-fantasy person, I just don't like listening to it, and so I think it's time to put it down. I may look up spoilers because even the back of this book says that the sisters discover a secret so shocking, so impossible to believe, it shakes the foundation of their family and changes who they believe they are. And that sounds really interesting. I want to know what's going on here. It actually kind of sounds like Black Cake, which I just recently listened to, where this brother and sister discover this secret history of their mother's life. That was just way more compelling the entire way through than this book is. And, you know, just coming out of my sickness and being in the middle of a readathon, I don't want to be in the middle of a book that I'm just not interested in reading. So I am going to DNF it. So with that put away for now, that means I only have one book left on my TBR to read before the end of this week, and that's Our Missing Hearts by Celeste Ng. Let's go ahead and read the synopsis of this book. It says it's about 12-year-old Bird Gardner who lives a quiet existence with her loving but broken father, a former linguist who now shelves books in a university library. Bird knows not to ask too many questions, stand out too much, or stray too far. For a decade, their lives have been governed by laws written to preserve American culture in the wake of years of economic instability and violence. Kids of Asian origin are being relocated. Libraries are forced to remove books seen as unpatriotic, including the work of Bird's mother, Margaret, a Chinese-American poet who left the family when he was 9 years old. Okay, interesting. And then he receives a mysterious letter containing only a cryptic drawing and is pulled into a quest to find her. This sounds so different from Celeste Ng's previous two books. And I've seen like no reviews for this book, even though her first two books are super hyped and I've seen a ton of people talking about them. So I am just very curious to see how this book goes, if it's easy to get into. So yeah, that is what I'm gonna get into tonight. I do think there are reading sprints on tonight on one of the hosts' channels, so hopefully I will plan to join those, start reading this book, and I have Friday, Saturday, and Sunday to finish it, which should not be a problem. So things are on track, they're looking up. I'm ready to have a good weekend and end to this readathon.
Dancing up in the stars. Oh, where I'd rather be than with you. I can't believe you love me. I just feel so.
Hello, time for an update. It is Monday. So the readathon is officially over. I have run over the time a little bit, but I thought it was time for an update. As I often say in my readathon vlogs, weekends around my house are just crazy. I have 2 toddlers that are running around. My husband is home with me. So there's really not a lot of time to sit down and update the camera on reading or things that I'm doing. So I apologize for that, but hopefully it's not too noticeable in the grand scheme of the vlog. First update from the weekend is obviously I chopped off my hair. I've already posted one other video where I had the hair chop in the middle of it. So at this point, I don't know if it's much of a surprise, but it was just time to refresh the hair, give it a good chop. Not sure exactly how many inches I cut off because we didn't measure or anything, but that is what I did on Saturday. Sunday, we had a birthday party to go to for my daughter, and then today, Monday, actually was an awesome day. I had it off of work, but my husband still worked and my kids still could go to daycare. So I basically had a day completely to myself where I was home alone but didn't have to do work myself, so I could do whatever I wanted. I used the day to be productive. I did a lot of cleaning and organizing and decluttering today, and I also did a lot of listening listening to finish up the book Our Missing Hearts. You guys, I wanted to love this book so bad. I have enjoyed Celeste Ng's previous 2 books. Little Fires Everywhere was a 5-star book for me, and I feel like this book's topic is important. It's a story worth telling. It's a perspective worth hearing. I just found the book itself and the writing to be super slow and hard to connect to. In this book, we're following our main character named Bird, who is a 12-year-old boy, and he is living in a dystopian America where the government has enacted this thing called PACT, which I think stands for like Protect American Culture something. And it's essentially an anti-Asian law where they're trying to protect American culture by not accepting Asian people, Asian cultures, and probably all cultures, but the Asian community is really feeling it in this book. And they're going to extremes like taking children away from their parents if the parents are found to be doing something unpatriotic, which could be anything from like writing poetry to doing something in the street that the government doesn't like. It's very vague and very racist, and it's a scary situation to read about. And so this boy lives with his dad, and he hasn't known his mother for a long time. She left when he was really young, and he's basically trying to find his mother, who is Chinese American. We also get points of view from the mother when she was younger and basically about her life before getting married, through getting married, having her son, and then what she's been doing now. And it's all very interesting. It just wasn't entertaining, which I suppose is okay. Every once in a while we need to read books like that, right? That's what expands our mindsets. That's what educates us. So I'm glad that I read it. I'm just struggling with what to rate it. I think I have to give it 3 stars because I'm just so mixed about it. And my enjoyment level at the end of the day just wasn't that high. I did have to kind of force myself to listen to this audiobook for the majority of the day. It's not really what I wanted to be listening to, but I knew I wanted to finish this book today. So I did, and I'm a little bummed out that it's not a higher rating, but I will be keeping an eye out for other people who read this book and looking at reviews that are already out there, because it does seem to be bringing up important discussions, and I want to have those discussions. I just wish that I loved this book more than I did. So kind of a bummer way to finish out this reading vlog, being that I didn't love anything that I read, but my ultimate goal was to read the books off of my shelf, and I did do that. So I'm at least happy about that. 2 3-star books that I'm not mad at. I do really enjoy both of these covers, so I'll be keeping these books for the foreseeable future. I have already gone ahead and listed Winter Garden on my Pango bookstore because I'm not going to keep that one. But that is going to be a wrap on my New Year, New Reads vlog. Thank you so much for the hosts of this readathon for hosting it. I think this is a great idea and theme for a readathon to kind of kick off the new year. I am excited to continue with my reading plans this month and to continue reading off of my shelves. Please let me know if you participated in this readathon. What books did you read and how did you enjoy them? Other than that, I don't think I have anything else. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I will see you in my next one.